not heavy. It's still medium bodied,
right.
but it does have sort of a richness of fruit that I think works here.
Right. And I think that's different from everything else we tasted. This was something that told us that Albariño was interesting. It is not what we found was the best of the Albariños we tasted. We're ready to add another recipe to the database. The recipe this time is Chicken Francese. It's a New York Times cooking recipe, and they say it's their most popular recipe. We made it, tasted it, and it is really delicious. Now we're gonna go on to a couple of wines we found from our process. We tasted tons and tons of wines, and we did several iterations to try to find out what we love best. At one point, we threw Albariño in the mix of the wines we were tasting, really because Irene had this great idea. We talked about what is going to make the dish even better. If you were to add a component to this dish, what would that be and how would it make it better? Irene's idea was she wanted to add capers to the dish. Oh, yeah. You thought the salinity of the capers would be something that would increase the complexity of the dish. I'm going to use the phrase that Irene introduced me to, layers of flavor. It would add another welcome layer of flavor to this dish. Yep. And so that's sometimes how I look at pairings. You want a wine that's going to add another layer of flavor to the dish or further develop the composition of the dish. And so I looked for some wines that would have some salinity. And we were surprised that the Albariño we really liked, but it wasn't because of the salinity. It was because the Albariño brought out some elements of layer of flavors around the lemon flavor. Again, this dish leaves a lot of lemon in your mouth. And what Albariño we thought did was add some richness and complexity around that basic sort of linear lemon flavor. Yeah. So let's taste these guys and see what happens. And I should mention here that once we saw that sort of trailhead that Albariño was interesting with this dish, we then went and tasted tons of Albariños to find out which one among those was even the best of the bunch. So this was one of the ones that was in the running, but was not what we found that was the best of the bunch.
I think it's good. Mm-hmm. This wine for me has a lot of peach characteristics, but they're subtle. I do think it adds some complexity to it. Not that I would normally say that peaches and chicken francese go together, but it does add a nice sort of fruit dimension, especially when you take a bite of the dish with a little bit of this lemon rind. The lemon rind really makes, really makes a difference here. What I do get when I take a sip of this wine is I get that acid you want to refresh your palate, freshen your palate. But it's not just acid, it's acid plus some weight and maybe some flavor as well. Some concentration of flavor that is better and more pleasing, I think, than a simple acid taste. Yeah. And so when that came into my mouth compared to the other wines, I was happier with it. And nothing bad happened at all when it came into my mouth. So I think that that's what you want. I think the weight. Yeah, I think the weight here is nice. Right. Yeah. Again, it's not heavy. It's still medium bodied. Right. But it does have sort of a richness of fruit that I think works here. Right. And I think that's different from everything else we tasted. This kind of like somehow the texture and the acid and the flavor, the citrus flavors, are all connected, all came in together. So it was very cool. Very cool. This was something that told us that Albariño was interesting. It is not what we found was the best of the Albariños we tasted. Check out all of our videos and all of our pairings, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot. See you next time.